Apple or Samsung? That's a debate that will never end. But it seems both of these names might be replaced sometime in the future. The impending end to Apple's and Samsung's smartphone market dominance might be sooner than you think. If either of these companies doesn't act, there is a risk that other up-and-coming companies worldwide might replace them. While that might sound far-fetched, especially in a world dominated by these two brand names, it is not an entirely unlikely possibility to entertain. Here's why we think that Apple and Samsung are failing and what companies might take precedence, at least in some parts of the world. Keep watching till the end. We at Business Chronicles tell extraordinary business stories. Please subscribe to our channel to help us make more videos. In the first quarter of 2024, Samsung beat Apple to the top smartphone manufacturer in the world, a spot previously owned by Apple for a long time. This comes after Apple's iPhone shipments took a gradual dip over the past few years. iPhone shipment plunge happened despite a global increase in demand and supply in the market. Samsung's recent Galaxy S24 series partly contributed to the massive sales of Samsung phones, which allowed the company to regain its long-lost spot. But what's most peculiar is that other companies, including Chinese brands like Xiaomi and Huawei, are not very far behind. Samsung's and Apple's market shares amounted to 20.8% and 17.3% respectively. Xiaomi, the Chinese smartphone manufacturer in third place, had a whopping 14.1% market share. For the untrained eye, it might seem like the decline in sales of leading smartphone brands like Apple and Samsung is due to them being on the higher end of pricing. Naturally, it would seem like developing countries would opt for more affordable brands. However, that is not the case, at least statistics prove otherwise. For a while now, Samsung and Apple have been trying their best to dominate key markets in China and India. The highest percentage of market shares owned by Apple were reported in North America and Oceania. Each of these regions had nearly 50% of market shares attributed to Apple. Apple, however, doesn't dominate African, Asian, and even South American markets. For all these regions, Apple's market shares only amounted to about 10%, a wild contrast. This significant anomaly is not about GDP per capita or the economic status of the country. Admittedly, even in India, where iPhone sales amounted to only about 6% of the market, price might be a contributing factor. With additional costs like import duty and currency conversion rates, iPhone prices used to be slightly higher in India compared to the USA. As it turns out, it's not just the price that has affected this lack of demand for iPhones in some markets. Many other popular smartphone brands in countries like India offer pretty good functionality despite their lower-end pricing. Companies like Oppo and Vivo have also approached markets abroad with localized strategy. They have established authorized sellers within countries like China and India, even in rural areas that favor selling their products, especially because of the potential for higher profit margins. In recent years, Apple and Samsung have come to face staunch competition from more affordable, innovative, and, dare we say, equally good options. Companies like Vivo, Xiaomi, and Oppo dominate some of these markets that Apple and Samsung fail to. Generally, Samsung was known to have a strong hold on customers, especially in India, with its wide range of models and more affordable options. However, this sway in the market seems like it's soon to end. According to data about Indian smartphone shipments published in the first quarter of 2024, popular brands Xiaomi and Vivo ended up accounting for 19% of smartphone imports each. Samsung's market share is 18%, placing it in third place against close competition with the newer brands. With the change in market trends, Samsung has tried to catch up with other companies by incorporating more diversity and opening up outlets within rural areas. Apple, not so much. What also sticks out is the requirement for more inclusivity when it comes to developing brand-centered ecosystems. For example, Apple comes with its music app that is heavily recommended for Apple users. Most users in India prefer local music streaming platforms like Gaana and Saavn. Other Apple products like the Mac that could perfectly integrate with the iPhone are often too pricey, making people opt for more flexible and versatile options. Rival brands in these markets often leverage the inadaptability of these companies to elevate their products. In the United States, Apple products are popular and sought out by far. About half of the country's mobile users prefer the company's iPhone. However, dominating the American market is just not enough. As a matter of fact, India and China have bigger smartphone markets even with only a limited percentage of the population being smartphone users. According to data from 2022, there are almost 1 billion smartphone users in China and over 600 million users in India. This is high time for Apple and Samsung to realize the importance of these crucial markets. Apple and Samsung have always been innovative and adaptive to the progression of their respective markets. With most competitive brands like Vivo and Xiaomi incorporating technologies like Android OS and products from Google, Samsung might find it more convenient to integrate into these markets as they use similar technologies. Even though they are performing well, iPhone market shares indicate that there's room for growth, especially considering the reputation they hold. It does seem like Apple is making efforts to regain the trust of these lost markets and help boost sales, especially with their recent iPhone 15 models. In an attempt to spur demand in the Chinese markets, Apple resorted to a discount of $180 from the usual price for retail partners in the country. No better evidence is needed to say that the smartphone market is highly volatile and dynamic than just the changes in the past few years. Today, the Apple and Samsung-dominated market is threatened by staunch competition that these companies have to address sooner or later. Do you think it's the beginning of the end for these flagship brands? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.